Welcome back to Story Stash. I'm your host Duncan, and these are some of my stories I've written. A brief note, you can send feedback to duncan@bigdreams.ca. Okay, back to the show. Today I'm reading from my book Ghost Whisperer, and this is Chapter 8. Chapter 8. A while later, Ed approached his sister Kate. Ellie was playing in the other room. "Sis, do you have an education savings account for Ellie?" "I do. It doesn't have much yet, but I intend to save for her college." "I'd like to contribute to it," he said. Ed pulled a stack of bills from his coat pocket and handed it to Kate. "Wow, how did you get that much money?" asked Kate. "I did some work for someone recently, and he paid me in cash. I don't need this, and I figured it could help Ellie." "Are you sure?" "Yes, please take it and invest it in her education savings account. I don't have kids of my own, but I can contribute to my niece's education." Kate put the money in her purse on the kitchen counter. "One day she'll have a college education, and will attend her graduation," he said. "Unless she gets an art degree," said Kate with a smile. "Right." Meanwhile, outside Ed's apartment complex, 2 Russian agents sat in a car. One received a phone call. "Da? Is the target there?" "Niet. The building super said he left town." "That sounds like he was expecting us. Return to the safe house. We'll catch him later." "Da. On our way." The ghost of Connor roamed around CIA headquarters in the same building as the Seattle Police headquarters. Similar to Sarah, he couldn't let go of his old profession. Connor watched his former CIA colleagues going about their business. Noah Johnson and his team struggled to find a potential threat on the West Coast. They had limited intel so far, but they knew it was significant. "How can we gather intel on the threat? We don't know who or where they are," said one caseworker. "I don't know yet. Impress me. I feel we have little time," said Noah. "They may stage in a warehouse, but I don't know where to start." Connor listened in on them, getting all he could. Perhaps he could use his talents as a ghost to find something. Still, it was tenuous. Perhaps he could get lucky. Later, Connor found Sarah wandering around outside police headquarters. "Detective, may I have a word with you?" asked Connor. "Of course. What's up?" "I have a case and could use your help. A potential threat on the West Coast, probably domestic terrorism. We must find intel on the threat." "And if we find something, can we pass it to Ed?" "He's okay with passing intel to the local CIA branch chief. They treat him with respect." "Okay, what do you need from me?" asked Sarah. "We could float through warehouses and places these terrorists might have established a base. If we find anything of interest, we go back to study it further." "Sounds good. If we can divide up the Seattle area, we can cover more ground," said Connor. "Do you have a map?" "We can use the map in the incident room. Then we can begin our search." "Agreed." They went to the incident room and planned their approach. On Sunday, Ed returned to his apartment. 2 ghosts greeted him. Both appeared to be Japanese. "Hello," said Ed. The first ghost said something in Japanese. Ed didn't understand it. The second ghost spoke in English. "Ed-san, I am Sugano Bunjiro. I speak some English, and I'm here to translate for Toyoda-san." "Okay, and what does he want?" The ghost known as Sugano spoke in Japanese to Toyoda-san. He replied in Japanese. "Toyoda-san says he was part of a family business. He died and wants to share some information with his family members before he can pass on, said Sugano. Ed looked at Toyoda-san. He seemed harmless, dressed in a business suit. Please ask if I am in any danger to help him. More Japanese between the two ghosts. You're only required to help pass on a message. No harm will come to you. Okay, but I don't speak Japanese. Toyoda-san says he can temporarily control your body and will speak with your voice. It will cause no lasting damage, and he will leave your body once the task is complete. That's new. I haven't met a ghost before who could do that. Do you agree to help Toyoda-san? Yes, if it's safe and he can use me to speak Japanese. When will we do this? More Japanese between the two ghosts. Toyoda-san says now. There's only now. You can drive there, and it should take about half an hour. Ed put on his jacket and grabbed his keys. Meanwhile, Sarah flew through buildings in the northern area around Seattle. She could zoom through any warehouse or factory building. The walls and any solid objects didn't slow her down at all. It was quite exciting. Occasionally she saw other ghosts. With their help, she could cover most of Seattle in less time. It was a perfect search and surveillance technique. Sarah came out of one building, floated up, and dived into another. She moved on once she confirmed there was nothing interesting. Connor had asked for her help, and this task was right up her alley. They were searching for potential threats, which could include many things. She might even catch villains before they committed their crimes. This flying and swooping through buildings was a blast. Since she died, she'd remained earthbound, as if she still had a physical body. Now she behaved more like a hawk. Once they found any threat, Connor could pass the information to the CIA via Ed. Connor said Ed would do this. It was more than she could get. Sarah continued to complain about Ed, but she could let Connor handle Ed. She dived through another building. Nothing of interest so far. Ed drove with two ghosts in his car. He was getting quite used to having ghosts in his car. The one known as Sugano passed on directions which took him towards what he knew as Japantown. Soon he parked in a parkade nearby. Toyoda-san said something in Japanese to Sugano, who translated it into English. Ed-san, Toyoda-san will now take control of your body. Please remain still. Ed sat still in the driver's seat. Toyoda-san floated inside. One moment he felt a cold chill. The next moment everything went dark. Ed got out of his car, but it wasn't Ed. Toyoda-san walked out of the parkade. Connor flew through buildings, checking each building in about a minute. He flew just below the ceiling and looked down at whatever was happening. He wondered how Sarah was doing on the other side of town. So far he'd found nothing of interest. Suddenly he encountered something different. Several people below him worked on what looked like explosive devices. Connor guessed they were about halfway through their work. Connor flew up through the roof and outside the building. He floated to the nearest intersection and looked at the street signs. He skipped the rest of his searching to find Ed. By the time he arrived at Ed's apartment, it surprised him to find it empty. It was the weekend, and Ed had no life outside of his job. Connor checked the parking garage, and Ed's car was missing. Toyoda-san, in Ed's body, walked up to a Japanese noodle shop. He opened the door and walked in. "Irashimasu!" yelled the staff behind the counter. This was a traditional greeting, meaning, "Welcome, please come in." Toyoda-san walked past them and continued through a side door. The restaurant served as a cover for his previous family business. A moment later, several Japanese men surrounded him, armed with swords, and pointed at him. "Stop right there," yelled one of them. "Oyama-san, put that away before I show you how to use it," said Toyota-san in Japanese. "How do you know my name?" he answered in Japanese. "Let me enter and I will explain it to you." Oyama-san and the other men exchanged glances. They all lowered their swords. "That's better. Now move aside. I'm here to talk with Oyabun-san," said Toyota-san in Japanese. This was confusing. They all stepped back and let him pass. Toyota-san walked like he knew the place. Intrigued by the white men who spoke perfect Japanese, the other men followed, wondering what would happen next. Toyota-san arrived at the office of the Oyabun, the Yakuza boss. He walked up to the desk. "Oyabun-san, I am the spirit of Toyota-san, recently deceased. I have possessed this gaijin so that I could report to you one last time," said Toyota-san in Japanese. "If you're Toyota-san, prove it." "We grew up together in Kamoka, Kyoto Prefecture. 15 years ago, we moved to Seattle." "What's my sister's name?" "Umeki." The Oyabun nodded. By now he was convinced. Japanese superstitions about spirits notwithstanding, Toyota-san gave his final report, providing valuable details to his former boss. "There's one last thing. This gaijin lent me his body so I could return here and report to you. I ask you to give him a reward and send him home unmolested." "It will be as you ask. Your service honors us, even beyond death," said the Oyabun. A moment later, Toyota-san stepped out of Ed's body. Ed collapsed to the floor. Meanwhile, 2 Russians parked outside. They'd followed Ed from his home. "He just went into that restaurant," said Agent 1. This was the one who avoided the CIA capture. "Should we go in after him?" asked Agent number 2. "Niet. That's a known Yakuza location. We wouldn't make it out alive." "But why did he go in there? He isn't Japanese." "Perhaps he is involved with their organization. We can't tip our hand to them. We have enough challenges with the CIA." "Perhaps we should return to the safe house and report in. This target is more important than our intel suggested." We'll do that." He started the car and they drove off, making sure not to break any speed limits. No sense getting the attention of the local police. Meanwhile, Sarah continued her search. As a ghost, she no longer got tired. As long as it motivated her, she'd continue to search. Twice she saw suspicious activity that, as a police officer, she would report to other departments. They'd result in investigations and arrests, but she ignored them and focused on more significant threats. Sarah also knew that Ed wouldn't pass on the reports to the police. That bothered her. It hampered her abilities as a detective, which she still saw herself as. In the evening, Sarah made a mental note of where she'd searched. Tomorrow she'd continue the search of her area. Perhaps Connor had more luck. Ed awoke on a sofa somewhere. He didn't know where he was. A Japanese woman watched him as he looked around. "Hello, my name is Aki. You're safe here," she said. At least that Japanese ghost kept his word. Ed raised himself to a sitting position. "What happened?" asked Ed. "I don't know. I have instructions to watch over you until you recover." "Thank you. Where am I?" She didn't answer. Instead, she called in Japanese to someone outside the room. "Can you stand?" she asked. Ed struggled to his feet. He didn't know how long he was unconscious. A Japanese man entered the room. He exchanged words with the woman, and she left. The man gestured that Ed should follow him. The man escorted him through a restaurant and onto the street. The Japanese man pulled out an envelope from his jacket and handed it to Ed, who took it. "Thank you." "Domo arigato." The man bowed and entered the restaurant, leaving Ed standing on the sidewalk. He remembered parking in a parkade nearby, so he turned and walked that way. A few minutes later he found his car with no ghosts. He got in his car and drove away. Ed returned home to his apartment complex. He parked in his usual spot and went upstairs to his apartment. Connor was waiting in his living room. "Where were you? I missed you," asked Connor. "I was out helping another ghost talk to their family." "And they paid you?" asked Connor, pointing at the envelope. "I suppose so. I hadn't looked at it." Ed opened the envelope, which contained a stack of bills. "Nice going. I need you to arrange an appointment with Noah. I've discovered an urgent threat and I need you to pass on the intel." "It's Sunday. Are you sure he's in?" "He'll want to hear this immediately. Please, this will help save many lives." Ed shrugged and picked up his phone and called Noah. A few minutes later, he was on his way to the CIA office. Ed drove to the CIA office with Connor in the passenger seat. "Ed, tell me about your Japanese ghost." He worked for a family business in town. He asked me to pass on a message." "A message?" "Yes, but the message was in Japanese. He spoke through me somehow." "Impressive. Are you aware of the content of the message?" "No, it's like I was asleep while he used me to deliver the message." Connor nodded. Ed arrived at the parkade and exited his car. He went to the Office of U.S. Public Affairs. The receptionist escorted him through the security checkpoint and to the usual meeting room. Connor followed him in and stood to one side. It surprised Ed that the office was open on the weekend. "I guess they work 7 days a week." Soon Noah Johnson arrived. "Good evening, Ed. What do you have for me?" "I have a lead for you on an active threat in the Seattle area. They're making multiple explosive devices. This is their address," he said. Ed handed a note to Noah. Noah's eyes widened. "Please wait here. I have to act immediately," he said. Noah jumped up and left the room. Ed waited about half an hour. Finally Noah returned. He pressed a button on the wall to reveal a TV. "Ed, I use my connections to get the FBI and SWAT out on the weekend. We can monitor them here." The TV showed a view through a helmet cam. Soon they burst into a warehouse and caught a team of bomb makers and all their bomb paraphernalia. Within moments it was over. The bomb makers were dead or apprehended. No bombs exploded. "We only recently got wind of a threat in this area. I'm amazed that you delivered exactly the intel we needed." "Soon it would have been too late," said Noah. Ed shrugged. "I got lucky. I'm glad to have helped my country again," he said. "The quality of your intel is remarkable. I'm amazed that you don't work for us. If you ever get bored with bug fixes, I can offer you a job." "Did I tell you I'm working on bug fixes?" "No, but we do our due diligence. You've become interesting to the CIA." "That sounds ominous. You know I'm on your side?" asked Ed. "Absolutely. I'm grateful for all you've done for your country." Ed gave a half smile. It was hard to tell Noah's thoughts. "Well, that's all I have. Can I go home now?" "Of course. Thank you again for your intel. We might see news about this tomorrow. We'll keep your name out of it." "Thank you. Good night." Ed left the CIA office and drove home. Connor sat beside him. "Well done, Ed. It was your intel. I just passed it on." "You saved lives today with no risk to yourself." "You heard what Noah said? I've become interesting to them. That worries me." But you're like the golden goose. They won't do anything to damage the source of quality intel. They need you. I hope so. If I end up with a black bag on my head, that's the end of our relationship. Ed pulled into the parking at his apartment complex, got out and returned to his apartment. Soon he was fast asleep. That night, while Ed slept, Connor visited Japantown. He searched for the restaurant described by Ed and went inside. Soon he confirmed his suspicions about the place. The restaurant was a front for Yakuza, or Japanese gangsters. Ed was fortunate to survive them. Connor made a mental note to ask him about it soon. If Ed had asked him, Connor would have advised against helping a Yakuza. After floating around the area, Connor left. He didn't speak Japanese and couldn't get any more intel here. Well, that's the end of Chapter 8. In the next episode, we have Chapter 9. Ed meets Ellen. She's a ghost who didn't die. Hopefully we'll see you for that in next episode. Bye.